Customer discovery actually happens in two phases. The first one, what we call understanding the problem. Another military phrase is trying to understand the order of battle, meaning you're trying to understand everything about the lay of the land. Who are the customers? How do they work? What's their industry like? You're actually trying to be your own market research firm. But this time, instead of paying some research company, you're trying to gather firsthand data. Because, as I said earlier, it's that insight or that corner case you're looking for. So, number one, you're trying to understand the problem. And then when you do, then you're testing the solution. So, problem first, then test the solution. So, the key concept about customer discovery, about getting out of the building, is not about first pitching your product or idea. It's just that simple. And if you can't get over that, don't even bother to do this, because this class is going to be really frustrating. But if you could get your head around what you really have is a series of untested hypotheses, that is a fancy name for guesses, and that you're guessing about everything in this business model canvas. You're guessing about, most importantly, who the customers are and what your value proposition is. And by the way, we take those two guesses and we give them a special name. That's called product market fit. You're guessing about product market fit on day one. What we want you to do is get out of the building and turn those guesses into facts. And besides the stuff on the business model canvas, there are two other things we ask you to kind of test. And you'll be doing these in multiple interviews. Number one is, it's probably a good idea to size the opportunity. What does that mean? It's kind of like a fancy set of words to say, listen, if you nail it, how big and how much money will you be making? It'd be kind of sad to really get your product right and the customer segment right, spend the next 3.5 years to figure out that you can make $20,000 a year, where your 3.5 years could have been well spent somewhere else. So the first thing you need to understand is, if everybody bought this, at the price I think I'm going to sell it, how many is that? And is it possible to get to those numbers? And so we call that sizing the opportunity. The other thing outside the canvas that you want to start thinking about is competition. And we place competition in a special framework called market type. Are you entering an existing market, or are you going to create a completely new market? Boy, if you're entering an existing market, you know there are competitors, you also know there are customers, your product ought to be better on some axis. It either ought to be faster, ought to be more accessible, etc. Or you might want to resegment the market by saying, I know a special niche, or I could be a low-cost provider. But if it's a new market, welcome to a long, hard slog. Because now you've created something that doesn't exist before, but that also means, while there's no competition, there are no customers. And you ought to be in it for the long haul, and so should your investors. And so that's not talked about in the canvas, but I ask you to think about market type, competition, and opportunity assessment, along with all the other boxes in the business model canvas.